Hi everyone, it's Scrappy Kathy here with a Khristina Day special video. Khristina Sword is the owner and creative genius behind Redefined Creative, the Secret Not Secret Kit Club, and the Creative Cuts Club, and she's just a maker of things and a designer of things, and she inspires all of us who work with her every single day. So, I just completed a class with her yesterday. If you have never heard or participated in a Stash Bash or a Layout Palooza class, you really need to do that. Yesterday's was a Stash Bash Palooza where we gathered things from our own stashes, and we follow some designs that Khristina has developed, and she's done an example layout herself, and then during the class she creates another one using some variations on her design. So this is what I created in this one particular session, where we took a doily and cut off part of it and used it over here. I didn't cut mine big enough here and small enough here. I possibly could have just trimmed some of that off, but I'm thrilled with the layout. It's just that the design, let's see, what do I want to say? The structure of the design was that there would be a cluster here, and then it would go in a diagonal to the cluster here. You would repeat some elements in each of the clusters, and then and go forward. I had some embellishments already cut out. I picked the background paper. I had this journaling already done, and I went ahead with this and created what I think is a beautiful page to highlight my generous little granddaughter who gave away all of her spending money to a children's charity on the streets of Manhattan back in 2009. So today I'm going to do another variation on this. When Khristina did the class, her original had used doilies. When she did the class, she used cut files, and she cut a cut file up so that it would kind of provide the backdrop for this. I'm going to do something a little bit different from that, and I have two unrelated cut files, and I'm gonna try to do something. One of the things I like to do with cut files, besides back them, which is what I did here with this red polka dot paper, and that red polka dot paper actually repeats, or that flower repeats the polka dot paper I put as a matting here, and then I have a gray and white stripe to have a little neutrality in there. This is a photo. It's a filtered version of a photo we took in, oh, I can't think of the name of the town. It doesn't matter because you've probably never heard of it, in Montana. And those are the mountains back in the background, and there was this beautiful flowering and berry-filled tree that had just this vivid red, and then the field had, you know, kind of greens and browns. I loved it, and I've scrapped it before in a Project Life format with all the other thousands of pictures I took that day. So I kind of wanted to highlight this one, and you'll laugh when you hear why. I was looking for some excuse to use this little cut file that we got from Khristina and the Creative Cuts Club, and I didn't have any idea how I was going to use it, but it just kind of, so I had an idea of looking for something hiking through the woods, or and somehow I feel like if I had started walking towards the mountains from whatever our vantage point was, which I think was a rest stop, I might have encountered one of these little creatures. So, and I like that he's got flowers around. So I backed one of the flowers, and I'll kind of show you what I'm doing here. The plate is actually prettier than the cut file. I've got these Vicky Bouton inks, the color wheel inks, This is what they look like. And I'm trying to use them as paints. So I have dabbed my brush in that red and then kind of gone over. And I kind of like that it's leaving some white spots, but I also like kind of going back over and kind of strengthening that red. I did the same thing with the green on the leaves, except with this brush I dabbed this green first and then I went over it with this green and it really came out pretty. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch mediums and I'm going to do our little creature, and I'm just going to do them all the same color. I know I could back him with one pattern paper here and something different here and something different for each section of his ears, and but that's not what I'm doing. It's not that I wouldn't like to do that. I'm actually using Distress Oxides, and I'm using my red paintbrush on there so that there's actually going to be part of him that'll probably be a more reddish brown. I'm just going to kind of do this because remember that he's going to go up against the over the photo. Okay, I added a little water there, and that works with the Distress Oxides. It does not work with the Vicki Boutin inks. I'm going to kind of go here and try not to do anything. And this should contrast nicely with the blue sky and the kind of grassy field. And it's fine with me. What I'm thinking here is that with these cut files being cut or colored, they'll provide a large part of the embellishment that's going to be needed on this page. I'm not planning to do a lot of embellishing. I will use a large word title. Okay, so that kind of gives that a little bit of, it's darker across here, lighter there, and I've got some variegation there. And the same here. So I think he's about ready. So I'm going to put him aside to dry. I'm just going to put him on top of this craft paper so that I can kind of see where he might need reinforcing. And I can always use the other side of the craft paper, or I can use it to mat a photo. I may actually add it to the mat of the photo that's there if I'm not getting the level of contrast and definition that I want after I start putting the page together. I hadn't really, as with many things, I didn't necessarily start this knowing where I was headed. Okay. So I'm going to put that aside and it will dry. Let me cover these up. And my guidance here is, I don't know that I would use this. The reason I did is I thought those colors would be vivid. These are pigment inks. They're very heavily pigmented and they're wet and juicy. And I've used them for many, many things, but never this. So now that was my one and done for that technique. Okay, so the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have the photo and the little creature down here. Let me just kind of try this out. There we go. Kind of that down there. I'm going to put maybe a thinner bit of this, because I'm going to color another cut file. I just want a tiny strip of this just to repeat that red and white polka dot paper up here. And I was going to put it on foam, but I think I will just kind of mount it right there. That will draw the eye up there, and it'll help kind of reinforce the other things. So the cut file that I'm going to use up there, and I'm going to color it the same way, so I shouldn't have put my things right, is this. That's obviously a Christmassy, it's intended to be Christmassy, so I'm going to cut the musical note part, or that's either a clef or an ampersand. No matter what it is, I'm cutting it off, and I'll try to do so without compromising the florals that are connected to it. So I have to make sure the connection between the florals is maintained. I'm going to leave this kind of thick part right there, and I'm just not going to color it. I'm going to try this. That gets rid of that piece. Let me get this over here so it doesn't transfer any color to there. Okay, and I'm not quite sure where I'm going to place this because of its shape, and I may cut some more off of it in order to give it a different shape that's easier to use. But we are going to have red flowers and green leaves. That's kind of where we're headed here. And I don't want to spend a whole lot of time. I may, just for the heck of it, since it isn't actually, let me do that. I'm going to cut this leaf segment off, and then I'll try to tuck that in to, as part of a layer somewhere, maybe even down here. Okay, and just leave it white. And so I will leave some of this white as well. Let me make that an easy choice by going here, cutting that, and then I can have this sort of create a tendril here. This is possibly more delicate work than I should have attempted on camera, and this leaves me a little bitty tiny bit of a cut file to use someplace else. So, for example, I can do this, and maybe I'll just leave it white. I think I will, and I'll leave this one white so that it kind of becomes becomes an embellishment, if you will. Okay, let's put some foam behind this, and hopefully this will kind of speed up a bit because as I said, I'm not planning to embellish it heavily. Let me go there. I want the photo squared off down here, and I don't want it up too high, but I also don't want it hugging the bottom there. Let me put a tiny bit of glue here. I'm just going to glue it straight onto the photo, and it's connected in only that one spot, so once that dries, it'll be nice and secure there. And now let's bring this guy in. This is a very loose interpretation of that layout design, but the main principle is that you've got a large cluster here and a smaller cluster there, and this is embellished on a diagonal that draws your eye to there. So I think that's going to happen. Let me do, I've got the glue on this flower, and then I don't know what, if anything, I'm going to glue down of the creature. I think I'm going to glue his chin down because that has his face at a good angle for you to see as you're viewing the layout. Okay, and over here I may glue down right here. Okay, and that keeps that. Okay, now up here, I'm just going to glue right here at this kind of thick piece, and everything else is going to be free to move. And that allows things to kind of lift up and provide some dimension. Okay, my title is going to be this, which I'll make part of that cluster. This is I thought I might want to use this I hadn't realized that I'd have to put the title up above. So up kind of where the title is, I was planning to have this and have the little creature saying, "This is exactly what I needed today." And the photo is kind of exactly what anybody needs any day. Just that sky, you know, it is incredible. And okay, that where I took the connectors off, there are some contact points, and when those contact points dry, it will be secured, but I'm not absolutely sure that the contact points have been held down enough, so I'm going to do that. Now, I've got a tiny bird and a couple of butterflies. Like I said, not a lot of embellishing. I have a camera. I thought the camera maybe could go up here. So I'm going to do that. Now, Christina's lesson is that if you use something in one cluster, you should use it in the other. And I'm violating that with this camera. So I apologize to Khristina, whom I am honoring. So this will, and I've got a only one bird as well that fell off a Maggie Holmes sticker sheet, and I kind of want to glue him in so he won't go anywhere, and I'll let him overlap the adventure there. I will put this butterfly, let's see, I'm considering this whole thing my cluster, so I'm going to slide the butterfly in here and kind of arch the wings. It was only a partial butterfly in that color scheme. So I'm going to put the whole butterfly up here. And what I love about Khristina is that though she teaches and conveys design principles, she's the first one to say that rules are made to be broken, and it kind of anything goes. So I never feel bad about somewhat bending the rules in a class I've taken with her. Okay, I had this little stamp here. I thought I might add to this cluster, but I think I'm not going to. I'm not sure I like the direction the camera is pointing there. It's not pointing at the photo. So I'm going to try to peel it up, see if I can do that without completely tearing the paper or having it show that it's torn. Turn it a different direction. Okay, and that worked out just fine. And it kind of peels up, which is good for me. Okay, let me add a little tiny bit of glue so that this guy stays down a bit. Okay, I'm going to call this done. It's a minimalist version of this, and you may see absolutely no resemblance whatsoever. I had these flowers ready to fussy cut and maybe kind of tuck in somewhere, but I think I didn't want a whole lot of flowers because these are the star. I want those guys to be the star. So I've used my little woodland creature. I've backed one part of the cut file and repeated that pattern, the red polka dotted pattern, in a couple places. I've added in this gray kind of as a neutralizing accent, and I've learned that you don't use the Vicky Bouton ink pads as paints. I have used these guys as paints recently, but I didn't think I'd have as vivid colors. Actually, I could get the distress inks rather than the distress oxides, but I don't have those in very many colors. So anyway, I'm happy with this layout. It doesn't conform to any rules for any other challenge. I'm not doing any challenge other than filming Khristina Day today. So check out Redefine Creative Facebook page, and there should be links there to lead you to anything else you might be interested in. I may put because they're there, I may put one of these rhinestones right in here in the camera lens. And I think that's all I'm gonna do. So thank you for watching, and thank you, Khristina, for all your inspiration. Bye.